Thank you so much for having me here. It's a real privilege for me to be able to speak with you, even though it's been a long day for me. As you can imagine, the US tariffs have not been easy for us. So the day doesn't end at 8 o'clock. Actually, at 8 o'clock, Trump seems to say something new, which means that our day starts early again the next day. But it's an absolute privilege to be here. Satish, thank you very much for the invitation. I think this forum is very critical for us to get together and exchange ideas. So my name is Anvar. I am basically responsible for delivering revenue, profit, and cash at Elgi. I've been with our family business for about 10 years, and I'm very excited to speak with you about scaling business. The technical definition of scaling a business is that you're able to drive revenue faster than the rate of growth of your cost, right? Which means that you're able to deliver disproportionate profit and cash. And today I would like to leave you with two things related to scaling a business. If there's two things I would like for you to take away, it's this. Point number one, key to scaling a business sustainably is to invest in setting a goal that is based in numbers and having a strategy to support it. That's point number one. And point number two is your ability and willingness to invest in talent that supports you along that journey. So I'm going to talk to you about these two things, and I hope that it's helpful. And I'm especially excited about talking with a group of MSME leaders, because I believe as MSMEs, there is not just opportunity, but a responsibility to scale. The opportunity part is obvious, right? Everyone is aware of the India growth story. We are predicted to grow at more than 7%. The median age of the population is sub 30, and we still have a very favorable labor base, which means that not only do we expect significant domestic consumption, we also expect significant expansion in India's opportunities as a global supplier. So for me, the opportunity is very obvious. But the responsibility part I want to double click on, and this is something that I hope that I can convince you of. The responsibility really stems from this particular stat that concerns me. Over the past 5 years, we've graduated 6 lakh engineers on average annually. On average, 6 lakh engineers. And all of those 6 lakh engineers have been able to find jobs in the IT sector, right? And the IT sector for a long time has basically been labor arbitrage on cost. But this year, less than 150,000 of those graduates will find jobs in the IT sector. And you're talking about mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, talent that companies would compete for, that would often graduate with multiple job offers, now are severely underemployed. Now we know that as a democracy, we are structured very differently from China, so there cannot be a state-based solution for this. This has to be a ground level solution that is driven by private enterprise, and I believe that SMEs play a significant role. So that's where I believe that we actually have a responsibility to scale our businesses, right? So going to my first point, the importance of having a thoughtful goal and a strategy. So what do I mean by a thoughtful goal? A thoughtful goal is not, I want to be the best CNC company in India or the best component supplier in Chennai. A thoughtful goal needs to address 4 things. One is revenue, year on year, market share, profit and cash. Boring, but thoughtful, right? And we need to spend time to set this goal in a very objective way, right? So let's just take an example. LG's goal is to be the 3rd largest compressed air manufacturer in the world. On the face of it, it's not a thoughtful goal, right? I'm just giving you a big number. We're number 6, right? And we have to get to number 3. But when I break it down to say, we have today roughly $400 million. It requires us to grow 12%. It requires us to grow 18% in the US. It requires us to close this many product gaps. It requires us to move from a market share of 4 or 5% to 15%, which all means we need to grow at between 12 and 13% in an industry that grows at 3%. Then it becomes a little more thoughtful. We've put a lot of data analysis and objectivity and lack of emotion behind thinking about this, which ultimately leads to a level of credibility in terms of the goal of going from number 6 to number 3, right? So many of you as SMEs, especially 3, 4, 5, 6, perhaps even the first 10 years of operations, you get that initial spike. You get to a certain revenue number, you have certain tailwinds, you have certain opportunities that you've been able to capitalize. But then you start to plateau. The low-hanging fruits are gone. And that's when thoughtful goal setting becomes that much more important. So hopefully I've convinced you as to why we need to spend some time setting our goals. Part of setting our goals is to think about, okay, what is my strategy going to be to achieve those goals, right? For me, strategy to achieve your goals should roughly fall under 4 buckets, regardless of what industry you're in. Can I sell more of my existing products to existing customers? Can I sell my existing products to new customers? Can I sell new products to existing customers? And finally, can I sell absolutely new products to new customers, right? So when I take these 4 boxes and I layer it on a graph over a 5-year period, which could be a reasonable time frame for your thoughtful goal, you want to spend most of your time on the first box, then the second box, the third box, and then the 4th box, right? And each of these boxes should serve as a guide for what you need to do in year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4. So hopefully, as you add some analysis, some objectivity, and some data to setting this goal and coming up with a strategy, scaling becomes less of an intimidating task. It becomes, you're able to boil it down into the next small thing you're able to do, right? So now you have your strategy, you have your goal. Maybe you've built it over 5 years. You've set your prioritization, the boxes, right? So whether you are a software business, a manufacturing company, a consumer packaged goods company, your strategic prioritization should fit in these 4 boxes, right? Let's think about that. If you only have 10% market share with your existing customers, with your existing products, why would you not go there first? So especially when you are small and you are confronted with all these different things that you can do, that might mean, hey, why don't you start this business? Why don't you enter this segment? When you have this framework next to you, it allows you to be much more objective of what you say yes to and what you say no to. And a good indication that you've done this well, especially for a forum of members such as yourself that have access to many opportunities, you should be saying no to more things than you say yes to. That will be a good indication about the tightness of your goal setting and your strategy, right? So, hopefully I've convinced you a little bit about thoughtfully setting a long-term goal and then converting that goal into a prioritization matrix, of products and customers, right? Let me talk a little bit more about why I have made these boxes as such, right? You want to squeeze the low-hanging orange first. right? New existing customers with existing products. Doing so successfully gives you the cash and the leverage to be able to invest in new products for existing customers. Often, as SMEs, resources are constrained, and often you don't know how to spend them. The first thing should be, have I done as much as I can with my existing products and my existing customers before I go into new products and new customers, right? So this filling out this prioritization matrix of how much, let's say for example, your goal needs to go from 100 to 200. How much of that journey is that first box going to get you in what time? And that doesn't mean you don't work on the second box. You are spending time achieving what's in the first box, but you are preparing to tackle the second box, right? Existing products with new customers. Maybe you want to enter a new state or a new country. While you are doing the first box, you are preparing for the second box and so on and so forth. So again, I'll keep going back to this. Thoughtful goals, prioritization, using this matrix, and next is the strategy, right? So let me tell you the role of a strategy, right? LG needs to grow 15% a year to get to number 2. The market grows at, let's say 5%, round numbers, which means I have to go and buy 10%. I have to go and find 10%, right? So for that 10% is what your strategy needs to give you. Am I going to do it with pricing? Am I going to do it with new products? Am I going to do it with sales process? Am I going to do it with people? Those are the things that need to form the bedrock of your strategy. And as you get into very specific detail, each one of your strategies should have a number. It should have a number assigned to it. To such an extent where when you're doing your monthly or your quarter reviews, you're not saying, did I sell more compared to last quarter, but is my strategy giving me more compared to last quarter? That becomes a very deliberate journey towards your goal. So, thoughtful goal, prioritization, and strategy. Now I come to my second point. The role that talent plays in this journey. As promoters, I hopefully you can admit along with me, we believe that we are good at everything, right? Maybe you're embarrassed to put your hands up, but when I started my career, I certainly felt that. We believe that we're good at everything. But the data actually shows that regardless of whether you're born into a family business or whether you start a business on your own, professionals can only be good at 1 or 2 things, maximum. You can only be good at 1 or 2 things, which means that the general tendency of a promoter is to take on and do things that are beyond the scope of your expertise. So, classic case, a product person designs a brilliant product, brings it to market, and by the quality of their product, they're able to get to 50 crores. They don't realize until getting to 50 crores that they're actually quite bad at sales, right? And they may have actually done some damage because they may have had a great product, but because they're bad at sales, they've sold it on price. So the first step is to recognize what is your secret sauce as a promoter. Is it sales? Is it product? Is it talent? Is it production? Is it finance? You can count on one hand the number of things that are critical for a business, and you probably fall in one of those buckets. I hope that some of your minds are turning right now and you're able to automatically put yourself into one of these boxes. So the first step to understanding the need for talent is to understand what it is that you're good at. And you have to be very objective about that. The second thing that a lot of promoters don't recognize is that they are the most expensive talent in the company. It won't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't take a big salary. It doesn't matter if you don't pay yourself anything. But you are allocating the capital and time for the company. And so if you are reconciling accounts, if you are signing checks, if you are making sure material is not stolen from your factory, you are taking a very expensive resource to do non-expensive things, non-value added things rather. So first, recognize what it is that you're good at. And second, understand the urgency of you being very expensive. And if you are very expensive, you have to put yourself towards doing expensive things, right? And that's why I will often hear from a lot of young promoters that say, you know, a CFO costs 35, 40 lakhs. I can just make do with a chartered accountant. But is a chartered accountant helping you as a promoter make better business decisions? And what is that worth to you? If they cost another 15 lakhs, is it worth it to you if your goal is to go from 100 crores to a 200 crores? With an improvement in EBITDA by 3 or 4%? When you attach numbers to it, it becomes far more obvious, right? And then the final thing that I leave you at is, I remember when I was growing up, and frankly even 10, 15 years ago, talent was a challenge, right? Talent was a challenge from two dimensions. One is technical functional skills. There were gaps. Could I go and find a great marketing person? Could I go and find a great HR person if I wanted to build this global company? No, it was a challenge. And second, belief was low. The fundamental belief that this person could wake up and win against global companies, that was low. So you had functional gaps and you had belief gaps. But now neither exist. The talent that's coming out today, I hope you can trust me, is amongst the best in the world, across disciplines. We have access to the same level of international education. Functional training is amongst the best in the world, especially on quantitative skills. But most importantly, there is belief. We have an entire generation of people who are transitioning into the economy that don't think of India as being behind on anything. So their mindset that they bring to any business problem is offensive. It's not defensive. And that will be a huge boost to your culture, right? So just to recap, scaling a business is not just an opportunity, it's our responsibility. Setting a thoughtful goal that addresses revenue, profit, and cash over a significant period of time, like 5 or 10 years, is very important. Setting your strategy based on customer and product mix and market mix will serve as the roadmap to your journey. Thinking about strategy and how that's going to help you disproportionate growth, absolutely critical. And finally, assigning numbers to what you're going to do is paramount. And then most importantly, understanding what you're good at and getting people along the way to help you is going to help you succeed. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you. I really appreciate it and hope that I'm able to engage with you in different forums as well. Thank you.